Your sister.
That's the kind of thing you do right before you hit us. Don't hit us.
You're the biggest. Stop the camera right now. Oh yes, I will.
Why do you have a battery?
Weed? Why would I do better?
A girl was actually punching me in the head, like a man would punch me. Is it ever okay to hit a woman?
I don't think it's ever okay.
We will serve Sunday for content platforms. You don't know.
Look that shit. What are you doing, hit a girl?
She hit you, dog? Damn.
I'm gonna beat your ass, you little motherfucker.
Can someone call the cops? I'm being assaulted.
It kind of goes without saying, or at least it should, that both men and women can be ignorant and violent. You can find countless YouTube videos and endless news articles about both genders acting like dangerous idiots. And while this pointless violent behavior will probably continue no matter what we do, at the very least you'd expect people not to rationalize or make excuses for it, or give one gender and not the other a pass for such inexcusable conduct. Right? The idea as a society is to progress towards equality, not backslide into old bad habits of inequality.
Years ago, you did an interview, which may come back to haunt you. Whatever, you know what I'm going to say, right?
No.
Okay. You did an interview in which you said, not the worst thing to slap a woman now and then. As I remember, you said you don't do it with a clenched fist. It's better to do it with an open hand. Yeah. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I didn't love that.
I haven't changed my opinion.
Back in the good old traditional gender role days of last century, when men were still men and women were in the kitchen making sandwiches, you could get away with saying things like this. But even then it was becoming increasingly obvious that outspoken dinosaurs like Connery were facing a major extinction event. Try saying something so politically incorrect in Hollywood these days and see where it gets you in your career. Right or wrong, that's the state of affairs these days, and while I personally have more sympathy for freedom of speech than I do PC thought policing and people's precious offended sensibilities, I'm more likely to grin and bear it when the rules for me as a man are exactly the same as those for women. But when it comes to violence, either simply stating opinions about it or actually perpetrating it, something is rather rotten in the present state of Denmark. To make my point here, I'm going to start by reading a selection of answers to a question posed on Quora. I'll put the link to the question down in the video description so you can check out the full answers at your leisure. Now, it may not be immediately obvious why I'm reading bits of these responses, because on the surface they sound like reasonable or good advice, but just bear with me here, we'll get to it. How do I defend myself against a woman after she hits me? If a woman slaps me, how should I hit her? Should I punch her in the face, the stomach, or somewhere else? Note, this is just when a woman hits a man first. This is not a self-defense question. You are not attempting to protect yourself from physical harm. You are attempting to protect yourself from embarrassment. You should walk away. Get out of there. Yes, it's humiliating to be slapped, but the humiliation will never be improved if the assailant is female by retaliating. If you are slapped and can walk away from the situation, that is what you should do. The truth is that because men are seen as stronger and more powerful, and because there is such a strong history of domestic violence against women, you are going to be poorly viewed if you hit a woman. Even if she started it. If she slaps or punches you and then leaves, you don't follow her and punch her. That isn't self-defense. That is revenge, and it is also a crime, as was her initial attack on you. If she punches you and then stops, your response at that point is to call the police and report what happened so they can arrest her for assault/battery. You don't defend yourself after someone attacks you. That's called retaliation. You defend yourself while someone is attacking you. What you are talking about is obviously not self-defense. If a woman slaps you, she's an aggressor. That doesn't give you the right to become one too. You have the right to defend yourself. If you hit a woman when you don't have to, that's not defense. It doesn't matter who hits first. If she's not going to hit you again, you're not defending yourself from damage, you're instigating it. How about removing/avoiding this person in your life? Seems like a better plan than hitting her back and making yourself look like the idiot. Unless your life is in clear and present danger, hitting a woman will always make you the douchebag. Rightfully so, in my humble opinion. Leave, that's all. Restrain her if necessary and then leave. There is no alternative. Leave, call the police, block her on social media. Violence by either sex can never be excused. No, you do not retaliate. Never. Don't hit a woman, even if she hits you first. 1, you should be able to take a blow from a woman. 2, hitting a woman will turn every person against you when the legal ramifications come up. Cops, jury, judge, prison, etc. Even if the girl in question is an athletic one like Serena Williams, the label of woman beater is really a bad label to carry around. Okay, so at least some people did in fact outright denounce violence by either gender. Thank the gods for small favors. But the takeaway message is that the onus of de-escalating female-initiated violence is on men, and that women can assault men without fear of retaliation. Not only are men not allowed to hit back, but they must immediately find a way to retreat from the violent situation and terminate the relationship as well. They're men, so right or wrong, these are the only choices available to them. I think you'll find this opinion jibes with the majority-held one out there in the real world. And it's based on the notion that abusive women only hit once lightly and then stop and go away. Quite an assumption. In contrast to this, I want to read an excerpt from an op-ed by Elizabeth Sheehy. Now, Sheehy came onto everyone's radar a few years back by advocating for the right of abused women to kill their abusive male partners, even, or maybe preferably, in their sleep. Remember, women are the weaker gender, so unlike men, they can retaliate to an extreme degree at a time that suits them best. I'm not going to delve into the absurdity of Sheehy's stance. Plenty of people have already torn it to pieces, and I'll give links to this op-ed below in the video description so you can delve into Sheehy's madness at your leisure. I do, however, wonder why women can't simply leave while their partner's sleeping. And if she thinks it's okay for an abused child to kill his or her abusive mother. Abused children are about twice as likely to die at the hands of their mother than their father, but that's probably for another video. Anyway, her position, though I need to explain it to some degree, is really less important to me than the rationale she gives for it. So let's have a read of both. The Ottawa Citizen reported that I said women are justified in killing their abusers, even if they are asleep or passed out. The thing is, back in 1982, a Nova Scotia jury of Jane Stafford's peer said just that, when they acquitted her of murder after a lengthy trial for the death of her husband, Billy Stafford. In 1990, the Supreme Court of Canada said that battered women are entitled to the defense of self-defense, a, quote, justification, unquote, even if the threat posed by the man is not, quote, imminent, unquote. Justice Bertha Wilson explained, relying on U.S. authority, that if we required battered women to wait for the, quote, uplifted knife, unquote, we would be condemning them to, quote, murder by installment, unquote. Battered women who kill are desperate. I would never advocate homicide, and I don't in my book. Instead, I ask readers to judge for themselves. Okay, right, so poor old persecuted Elizabeth Sheehy simply and innocently asked readers to judge for themselves. She didn't, cherry pick cases and set them up to make the decision she wants them to make that abused women can kill their husbands in their sleep. Of course not. She didn't do that. But again, I'm not so much interested in her stance as the justification for it. And that being that women shouldn't be forced to wait for the quote-unquote imminent knife to come out, right? They should be able to retaliate whenever they like. And I'd really just consider her opinion and rationale here an isolated one if it weren't for all the excuse making given for women who stay in abusive relationships from another question posted on Quora. Let me read that one and the answers given. Why do women stay in abusive relationships? Here's a list someone drew up. The reasons why. Because I love him. Because he's not like this all the time. Because I am strong. Because his craziness is a symptom of his past. Because I can fix him. And so on. And then the responder adds a few of her own. Fear of retribution, low self-esteem, isolation, economic dependence, victim mentality, infatuation, social stigma, wanting to stay for the kids, believing abusers when they say they won't do it again, and self-delusion, of which many of the above are. And then we get the power and control wheel from the Duluth model. I'm not going to read all this. You can check out the absurdity of the Duluth model on your own. I will just read a little of the rationale for why it's so clearly biased. Making the power and control wheel gender neutral would hide the power imbalance in relationships between men and women that reflect power imbalances in society. By naming the power differences, we can more clearly provide advocacy and support for victims, accountability, and opportunities for change for offenders, and system and societal changes that end violence against women. And then many more responders below. This first one gives similar answers, so there's no need really to get into them. Okay, so where all these links and questions and articles leave us is that when it comes to women, if we require them to wait for the imminent danger from their abusive partner, we're condemning them to some horrible outcome. But men have to wait until their abusive partner is about to attack. Otherwise, they're criminals just like their abusive partner. I mean, I don't know what else to draw from this. These two opinions, strongly held, I might add, boil down simply to this. Women, you can stick around and retaliate at your leisure. Men, sorry, but you gotta wait till the exact moment when the knife is thrust at you or the pot of boiling water is tipped over top of your head. And even then, you can't really assault her because you have to retreat, de-escalate, and find some way to end the relationship. A relationship that, were the abuse reversed, she would not have to do the same because reasons. When basically every facet of society, academia, politicians, law enforcement, the general public, etc., is so hopelessly devoted to bad rules and laws and/or selective enforcement, there's really not much you can do if you're on the receiving end. Except maybe have a good chuckle when it all comes back to bite them on the ass.
It started only seconds after Hardwick and her ex-husband were called before Judge Edwards. He'd filed a DVO against her.
But I need you to tell me briefly, in your own words, what happened to cause you to ask for a domestic violence order.
Hardwick's ex was explaining the situation when Hardwick interrupted.
Miss Hardwick,
no.
you will be held in contempt of this court if you become disruptive.
I don't care. I haven't done anything to this court. I haven't done anything to him.
She will be arrested for contempt of the court.
It doesn't make any difference.
You will serve 10 days for contempt of court. You go now.
You probably watched that video segment wondering to yourself, what the hell was she thinking? Well, it's pretty simple, really. She was thinking, I'm female, and I can not only assault my husband, but I can take over the court of law I finally get dragged to, and kick the shit out of the judge when things don't go my way, just like I do to my spouse at home. All she was thinking is, this is my privilege that I was granted, and I'm going to use it like I always do.